Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming either in person or by Zoom. I'm Ian Brownlee, and I'm chairman of the Sustainable Working Group. Tonight we have 3 or 4 other members of the working group here, and we're just going to run through some of the things that we do. We have some slides for some things, we have no slides for other things. The way our working group works is that we tend to have people who are interested in specific things, and we have about 15 subjects on our list of topics, and based on that, we distribute them around, and there's 2 or 3 people working on each particular subject. For those people who are not in the room and on Zoom, I wonder if you could just mute your microphones, because we can hear some background music. Oh, it's not music, it's kids, I think. So what we're going to do tonight, we just treat it very informally. We're going to run it in the way that we'll go through the subject, and then we'll have a short period of question and answers, and then we'll move on to the next subject and so on. And then we'll have a period at the end where we can also have longer questions and answer times there. But I'd like to finish at 8 o'clock if possible. So the program tonight. Oh, what happened? Just that one. Okay. So the agenda is there before you. We're going to talk more about some things and less about others. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Clean Regattas program, and Sheila is going to make a presentation on that. So Sheila.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming, and especially to Elsa for putting this together. Really, the Clean Regattas program, it has So Clean Regattas program, we started to introduce this in 2016. As you might know, this our 3 clubhouses have 3 banners now that you might have seen. This is one of our initiatives as well. And then, so basically Clean Regattas started in 2016, and there's more than 2,600 events that has registered in this program. It's a worldwide event, actually. It's a leading, the world's leading sustainability certification for all on the water events. And how it works is that it has like a 20 checklist that every event has to tick the box that I'll go through later on. And in each point, you will have the participants bronze, silver, gold, and platinum level. So the Clean Regattas is about the 5 sustainability themes. So it's the 5 elimination of single-use items, community involvement, environmental stewardship, responsible waste management, and green voting. Actually, they have revised the checklist this year, and we are very, very fortunate that in this checklist that they circulate worldwide, the picture in the middle has been featured. So there's Patrick Kwan and the others. I think this was taken at the Nations Cup, perhaps, where we started the to join for the adult phase. So this is a 12 best practice a 20 best practice checklist, and most of them are actually done by the clubhouses already. So where it's highlighted in red and green, that's where it's either the class organizers will need to do their own. When it's green, it's the clubhouse still has to do, or we still have to do. In that sense. So I'm not going to just go through this because there's 20. So the particular point is the point 5. Let's say if you have a class race, and you would like to consider any
或者啊，聽日
you
嗰
could
個
consider
銅鑼
other
灣
things
叫
that
雞肉，聽日我
are
唔記得咗
sustainable rather than
因為咧嘅47咧想星期5開翻去西貢，咁啊
Sorry
想
guys, if you're not speaking, if
咁
you're
咧
not
就
presenting, could you please put yourself on mute?
聽日
Victor,
有
can
吊
you
機
hear
咧，
you?
咁你橫掂都喺銅鑼灣，可能朝頭
Well done.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And then what happens is point 6, actually each class secretary designated their own green team leaders, at least for the sailing group. And we're very happy because a lot of people were interested to take part as green team leaders. So what happens is that whenever there's races after the race, they would submit some photos to Vivian, to the sailing office, just to do some write-ups as well in Ahoy. And all these actually and then the next. And so by the help of Elsa from the sailing office, we started this Clean Regattas program with the kids, the Hong Kong Race Week that most of you might know. And that was in February 2016. And all the races in Middle Island have been registered by Elsa to take part in the Clean Regattas. And starting only in the Nations Cup last year, it was our pilot's race to try to register in Kellet Island Clubhouse. Because what happens is that every race will depend on the location itself. So it's not like if there's one. Sorry. Right. I have to go back. Yeah. So what happens like it's not like one yacht club can register for everything. So it depends on the location itself. So when we participated in Nations Cup, then we got the silver rankings, and after that it became it's gold basically. So what we're aiming for now, anything that we do as races where the kids are adult, we're aiming only from gold and then the platinum level, which is 95%. And thankfully, the sailing office has been quite helpful in promoting this as well, and also trying to push forward every race. And then Elsa has registered all the races, even the class races for the season, for the entire season. So it's automatic now. And yeah, that's it for me. Any question?
So I've got a question. So are the other clubs in Hong Kong following our lead, or are they not?
ABC is doing it already. It started to do after us. And Hebe Haven Yacht Club, we don't know so far. Yeah.
Just is this one? The question that we've had within in our group is that all of these criteria apply equally to the rowing and the sailing events. And now Elsa has a process where any race is entered into the category online, right? And then when the event comes up, we go through the process of getting the points. But it's not happening on the rowing and the sailing. And that to me is a problem, because as you see from what Sheila's just presented, 80% is because we've actually now got the clubhouses in the event location now able to meet their criteria. So there's only a few other things that have to be done to make the rest of it work.
Yeah, Ian, I'm not sure if it's the right time to say this, but as a big boat owner.
Yeah, my name is David Kong.
I'm not quite sure it's the right time to say this, but I'm a big boat owner, and this is the first time I've actually heard about clean. Well, I've seen the sign, the clean regatta, but I have no idea what it involves. So this is the first time I've seen it, and that's good. But I think awareness is what the club's trying to do. It's worth pushing. For example, single-use plastic. How do you rate yourself? Are you 100%? Then you rate yourself, you give yourself a point. Or a single-use plastic in Shelter Cove, I buy ice and it's in a single-use plastic bag. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a boat owner, I'm racing all the time. This is the first time I've seen this rating.
Okay, what we've tried to do is there's been no systematic process. And what we've tried to do over the last 2 years is try to set up protocols and systems so that anyone can get into the system, they can understand and join it. Now, part of it is done by the sailing office, and then part of it is to be done by the event organizers. And the big change that's needed is for the event organizers to be aware of it. And I think the class secretaries have been the contact point, right? And what happens within the class, within the event, you need to establish a green team of 2 or 3 people whose responsibility is to make sure that everyone else follows the line. And it's by educating through them. And a lot of the things you see online are actually kids more than adults as part of the green team. But you want to talk about it?
Yeah, actually, Ian and Julie, this is not a criticism.
No.
This is something that we could help you. If you push the class secretary, like for example, our big boat class secretary, he knows probably, but make sure you check back with him, you track him.
Yeah.
So that's how effective implementation is. We track it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not criticizing. I think it's fantastic.
No, but it's actually been the challenges to get it from the system to the people, right? And like we did have a regatta here, one of the dragon boat regattas that managed to get up to gold, I think it was. And but no one would have known that they were taking part in a regatta that was meeting these compliance. And that's why one of the things we've done is to put these signs up so that people are aware that there is such a thing as a clean regatta requirement.
What we do as well is that just before each race, it's like Nations Cup is coming, we also try to alert the class X, because there's not class X, but the green team leaders per class. We would also remind them like, hey, upcoming race is going to be when, and then please send the sailing office some photos, also some small write-ups if you wish, to prove what we have been doing. So they constantly do that, and it's also featured in Ahoy. It's true that it's not yet like a full-blown, announcement. The one big thing was the banner. At least we have the banners, and we're also trying to consider another banner in the front area of the Kellet Island clubhouse, just to see that when people come in, immediately they see the
Oliver.
So
Fine, thank you. Phone, please.
it's true. Thank you, but thank you for the
Okay.
Hey, David. This is Amanda. I'm on the sustainability working group as well, and I'm the sports boats class secretary. I mean, I think we 100% agree with what you're saying about tracking and implementation to try and make this effective. Unfortunately, it's been one of the projects to try and work with the comms team at the club to see what is the best way that we can get feedback, or from the actual sailors.
Yeah, Amanda, I think maybe you should start rating boats too.
Sorry, what
You
boats?
start rating boats, green, blue, black.
Yeah,
gold.
it's just hard with the big boats, right? Because like sports boats, everyone knows I've got my eye on them, and Meg is
not really
as well.
Amanda, not really, because the crew on big boats sail small boats too. And
Yeah.
classic boats. Okay, so I don't know, there's must be a way of broadcasting and tracking.
Yep,
Okay.
agreed.
I think we
Yeah,
just
no.
will take the point. We'll move on to the next one. But it is something we are aware of, and we're trying to crack it. And for actual people to understand what's going has been important. Hey, Danny. I'm just going to quickly run through the solar power project, and part of the objectives of the club, one of the sustainability objectives is to relate to reducing greenhouse emissions, and you know, climate change is something which has had an incredible impact on Middle Island. And I must say that progressively this has become something which people are becoming aware of and supporting. But you can see that there's an opportunity to generate $5 income per unit from the electricity companies, and that will give us, from our $5 million of electricity we pay, we're aiming at getting something around 20–25%. So if we can get an income of $1 million, we're going to be part of the way towards looking at the green carbon issues that relate to it. I'm just going to show you briefly. The situation is that we've been out to tender. We've had about 17 companies come back. We're now down to 5. And we have a situation where we have 3 of us from the Sustainability Working Group, and then we have others from finance and from the projects who are actually in on it too. And now, all I'm going to show you is the sites of the locations of the panels that we're looking at. In Middle Island, at Kellett Island, we're looking mainly at the roofs. Kellett Island 2 and 3 are the administration buildings. Kellett Island 1 is on top of the compass room, which is a good location, but it does have a bit of an issue regarding the quality of the building and the roof. And the other ones relate to around the swimming pool area, and each of them has an issue and a challenge, and a lot of them are actually really going to be quite good. Shelter Cove, again, Shelter Cove 1 and Shelter Cove 2 relate to the clubhouse and the area outside it under the canopy. Shelter Cove 3 is the men's changing room. Shelter Cove 4 is the electricity substation. The trees are a bit of a problem at Shelter Cove because they do reduce the viability of it. Middle Island, the Middle Island 1 is the clubhouse building. Again, we've got trees around the clubhouse building. Middle Island 2 is a little bit controversial. It's it was suggested after our expression of interest stage that the area around the planters around the building would be suitable for having solar panels. And there's a bit of an issue as to whether we should be green and keep the green then the planters, or whether we should actually take that area over. That's one of the things which is now being looked at as part of the process. So if we look at this table here, which is partly hidden, the opportunities at each of the clubhouse, and this is not necessarily up to date in terms of the current contractors that we're looking at, but basically the electricity cost per year is about $5 million a year. This possible area that we could get is there, and the income is going to be around about $890 to $1 million. And it depends. The most expensive tenderer we have is the one that puts in the most solar panel area, and we generate the most electricity out of it. So that's part of the problem. What do we actually go for? One of the issues is it's about a 15%, I think it's about a 15% return on investment that we get. And it could be even higher. Even higher. So we've been to the finance committee, and the principle is generally accepted as being a better investment than most other things that you can invest in at the moment. And it's a matter of actually how we go about it. We sign a contract, and then we get this, basically they pay back within about 5 to 6 years. And so there's, in terms of an investment for the club, it's a good thing. And the feed-in system in Hong Kong is better than anywhere else in the world, as far as we know. So I think that's the last one. Why doesn't your machine work? Okay, so that's the end of the solar panels. Are there any questions or comments on that? Could we take them now?
Yeah, I do have a suggestion. Can you get a sponsor? Can you get a sponsor, like a corporate, a lot of CSR projects? Work with Business Environment Council, the BEC? They can help us.
For this sort of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. Get money for the project.
There's heaps of people that are putting them in at the moment. There are a lot of companies installing them on all sorts of people. It's something which has looked more at like a commercial thing than a thing that would be sponsored. But one of the things that we've talked about in terms of sponsorship is most of the members of the club don't have an opportunity where they can invest in reducing their carbon footprint. And the cost of a panel and installing it is around about $5,000. And what we were thinking, and we've discussed this before, most people have either said it's not a bad idea. If the club members would invest in it, our target would be to get $1 million, and from recognition of the investment of $5,000 per panel. So in terms of sponsorship, that was one way we were thinking about doing it. I don't know what your reaction to that is, but it's something which
I think that is a good idea, but you should have a small group think about who you could get as a big sponsor, maybe a local bank or Swire. They need projects like this.
okay. Any other comments? Okay, the next, so the program, right? We hope to be able to interview these 5 guys, or 3 or 4 of the 5 remaining contractors in the next few weeks, and then we'll be making our presentations to Finance Committee and the General Committee and other committees with our recommendations. So hopefully the middle of the year we'll be able to commit to having some of these panels installed. Is 80 around? Is 80? What's the, no, okay. What's the next one? Okay.
I have a question.
For what it's worth, I think we should keep the planters because biodiversity is also very important, and those planters attract butterflies, etc.
Thank you. Yes, other people have said similar things, but then if you look at the planters, they're not actually very well looked after, and more of an eyesore that probably. But it's a very interesting subject to talk to people about.
I mean, I heard earlier that trees are a problem. That's what you said.
Who said that?
You did.
Well, some of the shading is over the.
I mean, we're talking about green trees. Are not a problem.
They are if they're a danger to the building over which they're growing. All right. So that's all. There's a risk analysis that needs to be carried out. Okay. We're not going to talk about this very much. We'll move on to the next subject. But this is something which the club was famous for. About 6 years ago, it was one of the first in the world to prevent single-use plastics being used in the club. And then over the period of time up till last year, people sort of forgot about it. And other new people came in. And one of the events that was brought to my attention was the World Coastal Rowing Championships that was here, where we had people from all around the world, and they didn't understand the rules of our club, and they brought in all their single-use plastics. And we then decided we've got to have a go at this again. And so we put this up all around the place, and it's something which is working quite well, but not necessarily working perfectly. And one of the problems is that people going on boats take plastic out with them. And that's one of the issues, I think. So it's something which we can't forget about. And we will like to be bringing this back from time to time. And we do have suggestions regarding the need for T-shirts relating to sustainability issues. And it's been suggested that this could possibly be something along this way could be actually part of the line of sustainability T-shirts we sold from the ship shop. Has anyone else got observations on this? Because it is a really big issue. Yeah.
Very simple suggestion. Don't give any prizes, trophies, recognitions to votes that have plastic on the win.
Okay. We're trying to get away with trophies and giving recycling. You want to talk about?
Yeah, that was one of the criteria in the checklist that every class or every class or every organization that they will do their own prize giving to promote non-reusable or recycled trophies or whatever trophies that can be
That's
used.
a slightly different thing. You simply don't give them a prize or the recognition if they have plastics on the boat. It's not about the trophy action.
Yeah.
If they have, oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
So if we caught them bringing plastics out from their boat, then if they are let's say the winner, then we would
Disqualify.
disqualify.
You can play with the idea, but it's something just like penalize success boat for having plastics.
I think penalized, like no points in the race.
Okay.
Can we please tell me what, if you could share, what are those bottles? With the big tick?
Which bottle?
At the top.
They're the Yacht Club reusable double line.
What are they made of?
Some form of metal.
Aren't they metal thermoses?
I haven't seen them. I don't think they sell them at Middle Island.
Well, they don't sell a lot of things at Middle Island because the shops at Callard Island.
But it's difficult to get water for going rowing there if you get your water off.
There's a new water machine there as well. Yeah, got the point. No, but they're available, and this is when we talk about sustainable shopping at the ship shop. We're trying to promote more of these things, but
Did you sell a few things in Ireland? You go to the sailing office. I'm pretty sure they sell.
Well, I didn't see that they were selling glass bottles. And people were using them in the boats.
the glass bottles are the new Yacht Club brand of
Yes.
bottled water. They were using them in the.
Yeah, because
Yeah, we actually had a discussion. We need more types of bottles. This is, particularly suitable for taking out on boats. But anyway, Amanda, are you there?
Yeah,
Can you-
I am.
Okay, Amanda, would you like to talk about recycling?
Sure. So I think recycling is probably one of the most visible parts of what is going on at the Yacht Club. And there are two main issues that have been raised with all the feedback that we've received. The first one is really the quality of the recycling and doing it properly. This is a service that the club pays for. So ultimately, I think people need to make a decision as to whether the benefit, like the cost of doing this, really is worth the benefit if if people are not recycling properly. And then the second issue that is raised is often people that do recycle properly and are a bit frustrated by others contaminating the recycling bins. Is there's been requests to say, well, why not have a special collection time or day in which people actually recycle, who recycle properly, bring their products to the club. So that's more on the member side, and then on the back of house side, I think it's just a drive to make sure that there is sufficient education and to make sure that the type 1 and type 2 plastics get recycled properly. But it's largely an education thing, I think.
Yeah, it actually, I think the last discussion at our working group was, is it possible to force people to recycle properly? Because it seemed like education was almost getting to the end and they were still not getting the answers that we really wanted. And perhaps, Amanda, could you explain the situations where you think that people are falling down on the recycling side of it?
Well, I mean, obvious things would be like finding masks in the recycling bins, or people just not reading correctly. Like once I said to a lady, well, actually that's for paper. And she's like, well, that says, you know, glass or something. I'm like, no, it says paper. And or just like if you're recycling bottles, you know, you've got to take them out of the plastic bags that they're in. You can't just chuck them all in. I think the message that I personally really want to get across to people is, imagine if you're the person that is sorting the recycling yourself. Like, how would you, what state would you want to find it in? And then approach it with that in mind.
Okay. So, yeah,
Can I say something here?
sure. Who is this?
This is Fiona Gregor.
Oh, hi, Fiona. Yeah.
Hi. I really like Amanda's idea, and I wonder whether she should maybe go on Denise's next video and tell the world.
No, thanks. I already suggested that Denise do that.
So maybe Denise does it then. I think it's really important that we get this information out.
We have actually raised it before. A little bit got worked into the last video. I've raised it with Ollie Mertz, like, hey, you know, coming off the water, this is how you do your recycling. But yeah, it's on the cards, hopefully.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Actually, I think one of the problems that the club has is actually being able to communicate with everybody and how to do it. There are many ways of doing it, and I'm not sure if we've found the best way of doing it. I think the suggestion that was on the screen there from someone about having pre-filled bottles from the that could be picked up beforehand. Yeah, what about being pre-filled bottles that can be bought in the case in the bar shop or taking on board and returning at the end of the day? One of the, I mean, it's a good suggestion, and one of the things that we're trying to do is get people to refill and use bottles, but we give free water. The new machines are providing free water, and it's rather than actually having to buy it, the water is, you know, also the glass bottles to prevent us flying water all the way around the world to be here. But I think, again, I think we need different bottles as well.
Hello, I'm Jacob. I have a question, or I want to add something to the message we just saw on the screen. And I want to ask if it's possible to set up a local pawn system for bottles and also reusable cutleries so that boat owners can borrow it from the yacht club and return it afterwards, because maybe the overall cost will be cheaper for the yacht club to clean it themselves than to deliver it to a third-party recycling company. And this would enhance everyone to bring back the used goods to the yacht club, and the yacht club could operate as a centralized recycling cleaning company here.
I think it's really important that people bring the bottles, they use them, they bring the cutlery if they're using them on a boat. I don't think the club's position is to be cleaning people's bottles, right? I think the education is, if you're racing at this club, you sign a charter that says, I will bring my bottles, I will bring my cutlery, I will not use single-use plastic. And, you know, come to the communication point of view, that's the communication we need to be having across the club. And, you know, whether it's sustainability committee, Denny, the videos that they make, but, you know, we shouldn't be, the cost of that washing is huge. I know I'm in the hospitality industry, we're doing that in huge properties across the region, and it's enormous investment. We're not going to do that as a club. So I think to push the message of, you know, you sign a charter or whatever it is that you agree to this, everybody signs up to it, and there's penalties for not doing it.
Ian,
yeah,
George, I just wonder whether you actually have the carbon footprint of the various activities of the club. Since we have embarked on all this activity, hopefully we can measure how we are doing in whether we're actually making any sensible progress.
Yeah.
We can do recycling, we can do all sorts of things, but we need to have a benchmark where we have started and then we need to monitor our progress as we introduce solar panel and all this, okay?
Yeah, George, that's our last point on the presentation today.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly move on to something which is has been building up and is now getting to the stage where it's going to be evident more often or throughout the whole of the club. But it's this idea of pickup plastic, and it's something that's to some extent the rowers and the outrigger canoe people are closer to the water and more aware of. But there's a lot of plastic in the water. And we were getting to the stage where people were bringing back plastic and trying to put it into bins and stuff. There's a problem with picking it up. So this is a description of the that logo, which is approved by the General Committee to use as part of this program that we've got. But it's the relationship of us as ocean sports people and the custodianship role that we have regarding the marine environment. And we can't get away from the fact that we're connected to it. And what we've tried to do is try to look at how we can get plastic out of the water rather than worrying about beach cleanups and things like that. There are a lot of things that are being done by other people, but there are very few water opportunities like water sports people do. So we're removing it from the sea, bringing it back to the land and placing it in proper containers, and hopefully some of it's going to be recycled. We've got other opportunities within this, not only the picking up by individuals, but we've got the sea bin, which is actually 2 of them are now operating at Shelter Cove. And so we have these, which are picking up the debris from the water, and then they're able to be properly disposed of. Pick up opportunities from the pontoons, and Denny, our sustainability manager, is progressively installing these nets, and there will be bins. And one of the encouraging things from General Committee last week was that they want us to do this properly, and we want to do it in a way that it's going to be seen as a classy thing to do. It's something that we should do properly. So you look for these at the pontoons, and you take the opportunity to pick up any plastic, encourage other people to do it. We do need to be a little bit better in the way we place our bins near the nets and so on. You might have seen this either outside along moored along the pontoon or in the harbour, or on they've been on TV, they've been all around the place. But Clean Waterways have got sponsorship from the Hong Kong Bank to operate 4 of these boats which pick up the plastic. And as part of the things that we as a sustainability policy is to work with people who've got similar objectives. They moor here. If they need to have electricity charging, they can get it from the club for free. This is the main thing which we're coming to in the next stage of it. And we're working here again with Ocean Recovery Alliance. And these bags are bags which are designed to fit into various sorts of boats. And the idea is that if you can pick something up, but if you bring it in the boat, it actually becomes a nuisance or often washes out again. So these bags will become available, and they'll be put into all of the club-owned boats. And then we'll be wanting to put them into private boats, but then they'll be for sale at the ship shop. And that's that on the pick up plastic. If you've got any comments or questions on that.
Sorry, just one idea that we are a club of competitive sports.
Yeah.
And you say the paddlers do a very good job of this because they're close to the water. If we made it a competition, would that bring the sailors in as well?
Yeah, it's been a suggestion that there should be sailing races, that the people who come back with the most plastic are the winners.
Or we could have bins for each class, and over time you could measure that, you could record it, you could.
Yeah, so that, you know, this is the beginning. There's lots of things we can do from now on, and just you know, any initiatives like that. And as you're on your way out, if you just pick up one of the labels over there that we've got, which you can stick on any boat to remind anyone to pick up the plastic. I think we should move on to the marine ecology study now. Okay, this is Megan.
Hi, everyone. This is Megan. I'm here to do more than just police the mute button tonight. So I'm happy to share with you some information about a marine ecology study that we proposed to do here at Kellet Island. And I'll try to go very quickly because I think we only have 18 minutes left and quite a few other topics. So I'll go rapid fire and hope to collect some interest from anyone who might be interested in getting involved perhaps after the session. So last year, Ian and myself and the Marine Ecology Committee proposed to the Kellet Island Subcommittee that we would conduct a marine ecology study based here in Kellet. Due to COVID and other challenges around engaging with other community bodies, we have moved forward with the intention to scale the study back considerably. But what we'd really like to do is to run an ecological study focusing on a couple of different sites that are here at Kellet Island. Fun fact, Kellet Island has the last piece of natural shoreline that's actually available to study on the north shore of Hong Kong Island. So that sort of highlights something that I think is very special about the club and the premises that we conduct our sports on and that we enjoy as club members and with our guests. There's actually a very special piece of landscape that's here at the club, just right at our doorstep. So basically, the plan would be to involve club members as citizen scientists with marine wildlife enthusiasts who are active in the club. We could engage them and have them participate in data collection and also some analysis of the data that we would collect. We would interact with local organizations who could advise and support the study. We're looking to engage with the Hong Kong Maritime Museum and build a relationship and a connection with this body as well, and also be a venue for us to showcase some of the work that we would be doing. We originally wanted to engage local schools and other local community groups, but again, due to challenges with COVID and other items that might be off the table until we're all vaccinated or at least all developing herd immunity or whatever it takes in order to get that community involvement happening at the scale and at the volume that we wanted it to, according to our initial plan. But I'll tell you a bit more about the case behind the study. Also, we do have a map here that shows some of the areas that we would target in order to collect data and compare it to pre-reclamation project data that was provided by, I think, the Environmental Affairs Department of Hong Kong before they conducted the project. So essentially, it would be this area, which is right outside and inclusive of some areas in the Wan Chai Basin. Here are some historic photos of some of the works that were conducted as part of the reclamation project. I think the decimation of the natural shoreline is quite clear when we consider this photo. There's another photo showing the ongoing works that proceeded throughout the years, most of my time in Hong Kong actually, that we observed the study sites under reclamation project work. So we were inspired, I guess, to do the study by the fact that these reclamation projects had completed, and we saw an opportunity with some of the, I don't want to say benefits of the pandemic, but some of the reduced travel, the reduced emissions, some of the perhaps more planet-friendly human behavior that might have resulted from the pandemic. We have had so much anecdotal evidence of increased populations of fishes around the pontoons. I know we have many boat owners among us. Perhaps you've noticed maybe an additional or perhaps a surplus of fish that we might not have noticed in previous years. We find marine life very active these days, and we'd quite like to do some studies and get some more information about what kind of marine life we have around us here in the club. But anyway, some key benefits that we would get out of conducting such a study. I think it goes back to the point I made around sort of acknowledging that perhaps we do have some responsibility and stewardship for this area. You know, we're all competitive water sports people, or otherwise we enjoy the club. But you know, we also, I think, have some responsibility to acknowledge that we do share the waters with others, particularly their home, right? So we would look to generate more awareness of the marine life among us, which is also a key criterion of the Clean Regattas program. So that would also bolster our points for the Queen Regattas, perhaps platinum rating, should we pursue that in the future. Okay. And also, it goes back to the point of we are able to position the club as more of a community organization if we are engaging with the likes of the Hong Kong Maritime Museum and others in order to conduct and display the results of such a study. Okay. So how can you help? If you are interested in helping, you can help by directly participating in collecting data for the study. We have details on the plan to come, conscious that we have had to scale it back from what we originally envisioned pre-pandemic. But we are planning an initial pilot dive on the 11th of April. We currently only have a team of 2 diver photographers that will be collecting data in a BioBlitz format. That's basically just taking photos of anything else that's alive under the water with you. And then we will later put up a schedule of dives that we will do to collect data to contribute to the study. If you're not a diver, but you're still perhaps a marine life enthusiast, then you can certainly participate in the analysis of the data that is collected with species identification, cataloging the species, and perhaps working with the Maritime Museum in order to set up an exhibit and work with them on how that might be displayed. So it's kind of a summary of our next steps. We'll complete the pilot dive on the 11th of April and collect our first batch of data and start to create some awareness and sort of treat it as a proof of concept to show, there is something down here, there is life here that is worth studying and sharing awareness about that life. We'll be sharing the results and then gathering support. We hope to publish an article in Ahoy and otherwise create awareness throughout the club. And then we will complete our plan for a longer term study to collect more data over a longer period of time and give more perhaps scientifically significant results. Okay. So that's it for the marine ecology piece. Any questions? Does anyone want to go diving? Please.
Really?
Yes, okay, that's great. Please connect with me afterwards.
Hi there. Can you hear me on the Zoom call?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Is this being done in collaboration with City Nature Challenge?
It's not, but could you tell us more about City Nature Challenge? What is that?
Oh, City Nature Challenge is a global NGO that tries to get urban environments keen on measuring biodiversity. And Hong Kong has a decently high track record with this NGO. I think it's primarily done through schools and organizations like WWF in Hong Kong. Again, participants tend to be schools and community organizations to go out and use an app developed by the California Academy of Sciences called iNaturalist to just go and collect biodiversity samples in a given time frame. Perhaps something like this for the club can be done in collaboration with the City Nature Challenge and opened up to maybe club members' kids or as a family exercise for a given period of time.
I think that's a really great idea. So City Nature Challenge. I also like, bringing in members and their families. That's a way that we can really engage more broadly without perhaps having that external community involvement. So City Nature Challenge.
Yeah, I'd be happy to link you with the organizers in Hong Kong.
And that would be great if you could help perhaps Ian and myself make that connection. I think we'd be very grateful.
Absolutely.
On the same theme, there's also HongKongJellyfish.com.
Oh, right.
They're asking for water sports people to take photos of jellyfish and give it to them. So I think that's some further collaboration.
That's great. Thank you. The organizations that we've considered working with so far is, I know we have the contact at the Maritime Museum. I haven't covered it here, just conscious of time, but we have also approached the Birdwatching Society of Hong Kong to potentially participate also in some egret surveillance. There's a nest of egrets in the Wan Chai Basin, which I think could also warrant some study. And we're also hoping to work with Reef Check perhaps as well to support with some of the data collection with the longer term plan for drives. Anything else? I'm conscious I've taken
Okay.
quite a bit of time.
Megan. George speaking.
Hi, George.
Hi. Are you aware there is a group working on the oyster project under Grace Leung?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We will discuss that when we meet up.
Yes, fascinating project. Love to discuss that.
I won't linger on here because of time. Okay, if you're aware, that's fine.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think I'll stop here, but please feel free to connect with Ian or myself after the session as well. Thanks, everyone.
You can flick through these, but this is the government. This is a government study. I'm just going to flick through it. They did a transect. The conclusion of the study was there is no ecological significance in this area, and this was done prior to the reclamation. This is right in front of the yacht club, and this is actually what there are things living down there, right? And the thing that fascinated me, there's some hard corals were living down there then, and they were going to move them to Trinquano. But in the end, the reclamation didn't go ahead, so they remained. And this is the process that they went through. So this is our record that we start from. We actually applied for government for a grant of 1.4 million to do a 2-year study, and they turned us down because they said there's no ecology of any importance in this area, and it wouldn't be worth studying, and people wouldn't be interested. So part of what Megan's just talking about is to prove that there are things here that are interesting, and then we'll go back and we're trying to set up a 5-year program where all of the things, including the oysters that George mentioned, could be put together. And we have a whole database and trying to do it in a scientific manner so that it is redoable and measurable. Sheila, do you want to talk? I can do it if you want. Okay, Stephanie's not here, but she's been working with the ship shop on sustainability. The first thing we did is we went into the ship shop and said, you should be buying things that are sustainable. And then we looked around the ship shop and we found that they actually did have a lot of things that were sustainable. And one of the things was one of the things that is significant that they just set up their website, online shopping from the website. So if you go on there, we went around with them and they selected things that were sustainable. Now they're in there under the sustainable shopping side of it. That was the first thing. The second thing is there's been a concern about the way that the club procures things, and procurement is something which Denny's been involved in setting up a process whereby they tick some boxes to make sure that they actually are looking at things which have a sustainability inclusion. And up till recently, there was no sustainable consideration at all. This is across the board. When we got to the ship shop, there's a concern about two components. One is the actual the ship related materials that are being sold there. What are the impacts of some of them, whether they're for cleaning boats or painting boats or whatever. And I don't know anything about that, but apparently we should be looking at that. And then the second thing is that the sail racing arrangement for the procurement, for the provision of clothing in the shop is coming up to end in the next couple of months. And part of that process, the Sustainability Committee made a recommendation as to a whole range of things that should be taken into consideration when selecting a partner who's going to be providing clothing into our shop. So the process includes all of those things which Nike and other people taking account of like the working conditions of the people, where the impact on the environment, where they're buying, and do they know? And there's a whole checklist, which is a pretty common sort of thing. But we're saying to the General Committee that when you go to select your next partner, because the club brand is a good brand, we're trying to be one of a leading organization in terms of sustainability, then when you select a partner who is going to be part of whatever we're doing, they should also be able to meet the same standards or have the same philosophy regarding what they do. So that is in front of the committee as they come to putting out the tender documents for the new provider of clothing for the shop. But there's also another range of things which relates to the materials that are used in the clothing that's presented and so on. And that sort of thing is something which has not been given any consideration up to now, except when we do around the island races with the dragon boats and so on, where the plastic, the t-shirts that are presented for that are actually all made from recycled plastic. So, there's a need to develop a systematic approach to this whole thing of procurement, and also the actual way that the things are printed and so on. It's pushing the limit a bit, but we think that that's probably one of the things that we should be doing. Reza Cockrell, yeah. Okay, just regarding the comment on the car park shades, we did propose initially that we would go to looking at the car parking areas, and generally that was considered too hard to do for lots of reasons, including the actual processing. And Bray Crichton, we've got your yes for diving. It's not only diving, it's also what's happening on the intertidal zone as well, and also happening in the water. And I think those of us who've been around for quite a long time can remember boats moored in the typhoon shelter, which had protective things around them to stop the fat and the pollution from the restaurants actually affecting the boats themselves. So there's a significant change that's taking place. Benny, what's next? Oh, I wasn't going to do all of these, but the people who are in charge, who look after the sustainable reporting, are obviously not here tonight. It's been a bit of a challenge to set up a process whereby what the club actually does as a club are actually taken into account, and that's partly what Danny's been doing. We're now getting a monthly report, and the report, and George, this comes back to the points that you were making. The monthly report covers each of these subjects, and when we get the solar panels going, there'll be a way of bringing that into account as well. We are obliged to provide a 6-monthly report to the General Committee, and it's based on a baseline that we set, which was June last year, which was a little bit unfortunate because it was during the protests, so the club wasn't really operating at what we call normal. But that is the baseline that we've set, and we're about to do our second monthly report. But there's an incredible amount of information there, and we're trying to present it in a simplified manner, in a series of dashboards whereby it can be updated regularly and computerize the whole thing, because at the moment it's in a large number of Excel sheets, which is really difficult to handle. So yes, George, we are doing it. We're trying to set targets, and then we're trying to measure the way that we're doing to get to those targets. But some of the things in the way that we get the information requires the club to change some of the way it records the information, simply like the use of electricity, which components of the club are using which amount of electricity. So the metering and things like that. Yes, you've got a point.
Thank you. Just from to your point around the use of the electricity, and it is difficult, I understand, to measure, especially in a building this old. Is there any aim to look at generally how we use electricity? And I point to the outdoor heaters that are in the bistro, which from a sustainability point of view are not great. Is there any view of removing those and going to different solutions, such as, you know, if you want to eat outside in the winter, we'll have a club rug over your knee or whatever. But that's pretty unsustainable.
Okay, no one else has brought that up for us. So
Yeah. Actually, in one of
on the speakers.
Yeah. In the last Green Team leader meeting, somebody from the class representative mentioned this as well. That one, the outdoor heater, as well as the sampan that eventually could be an electric. Yeah, so that's noted.
But from a sampan, that'd be great, right? That's quite a long-term expensive project.
Yeah.
Switching off heaters
Means you
we
won't go
could
to
do
the
tomorrow. Sorry?
You won't go to the line within the week. So
Have a rug.
just tail wagging the dog.
But if there's any other idea to have the outdoor space warm, apart from the blankets, please let us know so we could also suggest to the operations of the club operations.
I formally suggest that we don't necessarily get rid of the heaters.
I formally suggest we do.
Okay.
I mean, come on, if we're serious about sustainability, that's heating up the world.
I understand what you're saying, but I do think we are a club and we want to enjoy our amenities in the winter.
Sorry, moving on. I'm just curious. So this reporting we're doing, I'm just curious, what level of either enthusiasm or pressure are we getting from any of our existing or long-term sponsors? Are they 100% behind this? Are they actually challenging us? Hey, by 2021, 2022, I'm Rolex, I'm whomever. I'd like to see. I'm just curious, are we getting any feedback whatsoever from any of our sponsors or the people we engage with that we co-brand with? And if not, if we inspire them, would they give us another 10% of their, or we have to divert 10% of their some of their payments to us against certain initiatives like this? Does that come up at all anywhere in the conversations?
Not directly. Amanda, are you still here?
Yeah, maybe I can take this. So
Yeah.
Just to recap where we are, like Ian said, we're working on the second report. So the first report was for the 6 months ended June 2020, 30th June 2020. And the purpose of that report was just to set some baselines to which we can start to measure our stated goals. And, you know, like all of these, as with any of this reporting, it's more of it's science, but it's also a bit of an art in terms of how you pick your baselines. And, you know, do you divide it by the total number of members? Do you divide it by the total number of members plus staff? And, like, you know, you can start to massage your figures that way. In any event, I think we just had to start somewhere. So our baseline figures tend to be absolute numbers. And it's just a metric for each of the goals that GenCom has endorsed. So we're still working on the second report. We've got the data. I can take you through each goal and what sort of units we're looking at for each one. But I think the answer is no. This report hasn't seen the light of day yet in terms of the general public.
I think also the more direct answer, has it involved anyone like our providers? I don't know, right? But our initial challenge has been actually to put in a system which measures what's actually happening, right? And then we're looking at how we can establish objectives for the various aspects of these. And then at the same time, there's an education process where now that people are aware of this requirement, particularly, for instance, in the procurement process, we're now stipulating that as part of that process, they check the sustainability. Then there's starting to be a change, but I wouldn't say there's anything yet which you could say, yes, we've done this. But I think the ship shop is something which we should really be able to be saying, yes, we are really onto it here because our providers now and our suppliers are now meeting these requirements. Okay, anything more on this? Okay, we've got one last one, and this is again, it was something that we sort of started about 2 years ago, and it's just great working with the people on the sustainability working group, because all of them are very knowledgeable. And it's actually frightening in some ways, because they kept saying to me, we've got to have a proper policy framework that's adopted by the club that we can then attach things to. And we finished up the great people that worked on the policy. And unfortunately, it's not here, but the main starting point, I'll just read it to you. At Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, we believe that we have an obligation and responsibility to operate in a sustainable manner. We are committed to continually understanding and minimizing the impact of our activities on the environment, and to protecting and enhancing the marine and coastal environment for the enjoyment of all. We aim to foster a culture of environmental stewardship and lead by example. And I hope that in the things that we've been talking about tonight, you can see that that overarching policy, which has been adopted by the General Committee and it's on the website. And there's a whole lot of things that follow on from that, including going back to the achievement of those, the measurement of the targets and meeting the targets. So, you know, all of those things are there. I think it's a pretty good framework, and all I'm going to do is, if you would like to go and have a look at that sort of thing, a lot of people find it interesting, other people find it really boring. But if you look at it and think that there's something missing, it's on the website, and it's I think it's pretty well structured, and there's quite a lot of thought and discussion went into it. So all we're doing is have a look at it. If there's something that needs to be done, let us know about it. We do have a link. It's sustainability at Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, just a normal email link, and it will come back to us somehow. There are two things. We want comments, we want responses. We've got suggestions tonight. Those suggestions are made to us all the time as individuals. We're doing things. Why aren't you doing this? What about doing that? What about biodiversity? Some guy keeps going on to me about biodiversity all the time. And I want him to come out and have a look at what Megan and the others are doing and how we can go about it. But the other thing is that we don't work just as the 12 of us. We actually, on every subject that we're working on, we have other people who are not part of the committee, like Martin over there, who are actually helping us in looking at these things. So it's a more inclusive process rather than an exclusive. And if you'd like to be able to help in some way, like you know, in the marine ecology, whatever, or bringing kids down to show them what we're doing, we'd really like to have them. I think, is there anything else that anyone else would like to add? Yes.
I just had a question. Do we feel as if are we somewhat alone in this, or do we have partnerships with other clubs in Hong Kong or sporting organizations in Hong Kong? Are we dragging them along, or do we actually, is there critical mass being built? I'm just curious, is it lonely out there on the top, or is there others working with us?
I think one of the things that's a bit frightening is that there's so many things that people are doing relating to water and trying to combat pollution and combat plastics, that we had a series of constant requests for people to become involved, for us to become involved. And I think people see the club as being a good body to have on their side. And deliberately, we've become rather selective. For instance, we were invited to join a group regarding beach cleanups, but there are lots of people doing beach cleanups. I think our focus has been on the water and on ecology. What can we do on the water? What do we do when we're out there? Like, if you see a bit of the basic thing that we're really trying to push is the pick up plastics one. And that's why we have a logo, which is not the club logo. It's a logo which says what you've got to do. And that logo is something we're prepared to give to everybody. We're starting off with the club. We want the club membership to get hold of it, and then we'll push it around the other water sports, including the rowing. The Hong Kong Rowing Association said that they will help. They would become part of it. We've already got other clubs that want to become part of it in terms of the outdoor events and so on. So yeah, I think there's a huge, there's a building process there, and if we can get hold of it and take it further forward, the better it will be. Yeah. Is there anything else from anyone online or in the room? No? Okay, well, thank you all very much. It's been great to have you here. There's one thing we haven't mentioned, and that is we want to have a t-shirt competition, designing competition. We think there are a lot more people in the club who've got ideas as to how you can design something that's going to make an impact than us on the committee. So one of the things we'd like to do is involve members in doing that as well. Whether we get round to it or not, I don't know. There's a lot of other things happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Nice
Nice to meet you. So are you interested in having a look?
Yeah, sure.